to do that, because we never ceded our territory. We never gave up our right to govern ourselves. But at the same time, you still occupy our lands.
Receive one vote on a rotating basis, as well as the Northern Tribal Councils, as well as the independent Northern Tribal Councils. So that's how it's been operating. And as you may appreciate and recognize, the duties of the AMC and the priorities of the AMC are hopefully, but not always, consistent with individual tribal councils. So the governance committee has looked at various different options for the makeup of the Executive Council of Chiefs. So the first option that they had for the makeup of the Executive Council of Chiefs was to get rid of any regional representation requirement and to just have it based on skills and experience, so that the people with the most skills, experience, desire to act, time, could act on the Executive Council of Chiefs. As set out in your issue sheet contained within the binder at tab 3, we identify sort of various strengths and weaknesses. The strength is it ensures that the ECC has people there who are dedicated, who have the skills and the time. The weakness is there's no insurance or guarantee for regional representation or a cross-section. So that's one consideration. The second option that has been considered by your governance committee is by treaty affiliation. So taking it away from the tribal councils to appoint representatives and mandating that the Executive Council of Chiefs should be made up according to the treaty affiliations. So when we looked at how that representation would manifest, and again, as set out specifically in your package at tab 3, there are definitely some strengths and some weaknesses. The strengths is that the treaty affiliation will be consistent with some of the overall principles and mandates of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs to adhere to treaty principles, to live up to facilitate treaty principles. The weaknesses, as is evident from the pie chart, is that it is not an equal representation of all treaties. So it might give more of a voice to the, for example, treaty number 5 as opposed to treaty number 2. However, conversely, that is reflective of your makeup at the AMC. So that was another option for the makeup of the Executive Council of Chiefs that was discussed by your governance committee. Now, the third option that was thrown out by your governors, as you can see, the language group is actually more disproportionate in terms of makeup as compared to the treaty group. So when we crunch the actual numbers of 10 seats and the term plus the number of total First Nations within the AMC, the Oji Cree, the Dakota, and the Dene were not guaranteed a seat on the ECC in every term, and there had to be a rotating seat because of the proportion. So, though wanting the makeup to specifically address language group, I'm not sure it was meeting the desired effect, in that there would be at least 1 or 2 language groups not represented on each term for the Executive Council of Chiefs. So what was finally considered, and your governance committee has met both as an independent committee, as well as having a larger assembly in November of last year, is by looking at the 4 different options. They were not confident in making a decision on behalf of the chiefs in assembly. So they directed us to put the options on the floor of the chiefs in assembly and to have the chiefs decide, to have you decide how you want your executive council of chiefs to be made up, and failing a consensus, to maintain status quo. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any comments or questions in regards to the executive council, but okay. So,
Microphone 9.
oh, thank you. Hello.
Microphone 9.
Good morning, Lord. Good afternoon, Chief Moody and Siswasi Cree Nation. Just have a concern in terms of the process. I know we received the information on July the 2nd of this month, and I know we're supposed to get, if there's any proposed changes to the Constitution, we're supposed to get that information 30 days in advance. And I know if there's any proposed amendments that need to be made, 2/3 of the chiefs in assembly have to approve it, right?
Yes.
And I don't think we have that, and I think we violated, those 2 parts of the Constitution. I'm not saying that more chiefs are going to show up as we vote, but I mean, I'm concerned about the legitimacy of the process in light of the fact that when we got that information, prior to the days required, to make any amendments to the Constitution.
Right.
And you look around, I counted maybe 18 chiefs, and is it worthwhile proceeding with the amendment to the Constitution?
My only comment to that would be, if we don't get a consensus today, and if we don't get a quorum today, I think the work that your governance committee has done is useful information for you to know, and that going forward for a special assembly or something, you'll come in knowing what constitutional amendments are proposed and sort of where the thought process is, because when we undertook work with your governance committee, we were provided with meeting notes and minutes from meetings that have contemplated various constitutional amendments since 2005. So this, what we're hoping to do with this is to address the problems of, and the ambiguity in your Constitution that the chiefs, the ECC, and the governance committee has identified as requiring a solution. If we aren't able to find that solution today, I think it is important for everybody to know where your governance committee's thought process is, so that you can take that back to your community, you can discuss it with the chiefs on the governance committee, and you can ensure that the solutions that they've come up with is reflective of the issues that they've identified. And maybe that there's additional issues that you want to discuss. Specifically in terms of the notice, under Article 22 of the current AMC Constitution, there is a 30-day requirement for constitutional changes. And I'm not sure what the delivery was, but my understanding in talking with the staff was that the notice plus track changes document, including the Constitution, was provided more than 30 days in advance. So, yeah.
Microphone 25 or 26.
Hello? Chief Batson, Pine Creek First Nation. I agree with Chief Moody. It does state the 2/3, even if we have received the documentation within the 30-day period. The other part of that is we don't have the 2/3 of the chiefs here. When I counted, I think I only counted 14 chiefs here currently sitting here at the table. So I mean, it's a good exercise to go through this material so that those of us that are here will have a good understanding. But I'm thinking that when this is brought back for discussion at a later assembly, because we don't have the quorum that we're requiring here, there will be more discussion, there will be more questions at that time, and then we'll just be sort of rehashing this same material again. So I'm just wondering if our time could be better utilized. Not to say like this is important information for us to go through, but I'm just wondering if it would be better utilized when we have more chiefs in attendance.
Great question.
You wish.
And I apologize for not addressing that in the previous comment. Under section 3.3 of schedule current appendix B of your current constitution specifically states that quorum is established on the first day of an assembly. And quorum, once quorum is established, it's maintained throughout the assembly. We did have sufficient quorum on the first day for the 2/3. So, but you guys are sitting there, I'm sitting here, this is your decision to make, right? But if there is an issue with the legitimacy, we, under the four corners of the Constitution, have sufficient quorum. Hello.
Microphone 9.
We have a quorum, but we don't have quorum to make any amendments to the Constitution.
We did as of the first day. As of the first day, upon registration and taking attendance of the chiefs that were there, and comparing it, we had 2/3. And then under 3.3 of the Appendix B, your Constitution states that the quorum is maintained throughout the assembly, so.
But it states the 2/3.
Pardon me?
But it states the 2/3.
So we had 2/3 on the first day. So the quorum, we had 2/3 that have appeared, that have registered, and that have attended as of yesterday. So the 2/3 is required under Article 22, and then the quorum definition is under Appendix B, Item 3, and they're to be read in conjunction. So the regular quorum is just 50 plus 1, and quorum is maintained on the first day, but there's a special quorum that's required for any amendments to the Constitution under Article 22. And there was a discussion with your Governance Council this morning about the requisite quorum, and we were supposed to actually present this morning so that Chief Clearsky could make some representations, but he was satisfied that he wanted this information shared with the chiefs, so yes.
26.
Okay,
Chief Batson.
Chief Batson again. Maybe I'm a bit confused, but for quorum, it's 50% plus 1, right? We're stating 2/3, which is 66%.
Yes.
So 66% of the chiefs have to be here for an amendment. So that's two different numbers.
Yes.
And there definitely is not 66% of the chiefs here.
So 66%, which is Article 22, Sub 1, states that the Constitution may be amended by 2/3 of the chiefs present at an annual assembly or general assembly. So the time that quorum is crystallized pursuant to your Constitution is on the first day. And yesterday at 10 a.m. when we started, we had 2/3 and 66%. So we've been instructed to move forward on the basis that, according to your Constitution, 22 sub 1 plus Appendix B 3.3 is that you have sufficient quorum. If you guys are the ones that have to listen to me. So if you want us to stand down, like, that's fine, we're happy to do so. But if it's a question of legitimacy, the notice was sent out within the 30-day provision as set out within 22 sub 2, as well as according to the four corners of your Constitution, you have sufficient quorum. Should we take a show of hands to see if we want to continue?
Yeah, I think so.
Chiefs, if I may, it's very important that we go through these amendments and we move through them. We've done all of our due diligence. We had sufficient quorum yesterday when we started. That has always been the practice of the Assembly, that we cannot do business unless we have that number of quorum, otherwise we wouldn't do business. So we did achieve all of our technical and legal requirements yesterday. Unfortunately, some of our chiefs have had to go. They're busy, they have other obligations, but fundamentally, we need to do business. We've satisfied all of our technical requirements, and I would encourage us to move forward and actually pass these resolutions. As I had said, they are in the best interests of the Assembly. They are in the best interests of what it is we're wanting to move forward on. And we've done a lot of work. I want to commend all the people who have been involved, from our governance committee to our elders committee to our women's council, everyone that has done the work to mete out these changes that are going to be to the best interest of the Assembly. And in order for me to continue moving as expeditiously as I'm trying, with respect, I would ask if we could actually continue to move forward and do these amendments so we can continue to move on.
Chief Batson again. Well, I think if we have met the requirements and the obligations, and we have the required quorum, according to yesterday's numbers, then I guess we can proceed, as long as that's noted in the minutes, in the record. Okay. Gwetch.
Thank you, Chief. Microphone 9.
Chief Moody, Situasi Cree Nation. Well, I think I'm confused, and I know that we have a quorum, but to make any, I'm not trying to stall the process. I think it's important for us to make amendments to the Constitution, but I want to make sure it's done legitimately, and that's my concern. And I know we have a quorum based on the number of chiefs that showed up yesterday, and but to make any constitutional amendments, you need 2/3 of the chiefs here. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's how I read it.
2/3, so the actual section, and I'm reading.
It doesn't say quorum, it says 2/3 of chiefs.
2/3 of the chiefs present. So we're looking at page 25, Article 22, and
Yeah.
maybe for the purposes of just background, I'm going to read the entire article so we're all aware. So under Article 22, where the Constitution is to be amended, the Constitution may be amended by 2/3 of the chiefs of the member First Nations of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs present at an annual assembly or general assembly, and a positive vote of 2/3 of those present. Notice of the amendments must be in writing and given to the chiefs of the member First Nations of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs at least 30 calendar days prior to the annual assembly or general assembly. Such notice must include the specific information of the proposed amendments, and the amendment shall take effect immediately after being adopted pursuant to Article 22, Sum 1. And then at the end of this document, you will see there are pages of previous amendments, and all the amendments are, the previous amendments are listed. There's a previous amendment in 1997, 1998, 1999, 2001, 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, 2017, and then we're here at the present. So, you do have sufficient quorum to continue, and my only caution is that as I understand, as I read your Constitution, the reason why quorum crystallizes on the first day is because of a situation like this. It's because the chiefs are busy. And it's because chiefs can come and they can go and they can come back. And that's why we provide the agenda ahead of time, so that people know and have the flexibility. You people are representative of various nations and have various issues to attend to. So if you lost quorum every time the numbers went down, you would not be able to pass resolutions within the assembly, and the assembly process would be defeated. So it would, and then, so within the four corners of your constitution, what the original drafters contemplated was that quorum would crystallize the first day. If you didn't have quorum the first day, then you wouldn't have an assembly. But once the assembly is constituted, then that quorum maintains for the entire day. So, but,
Microphone 26.
Hello, Chief Batson again. I don't know, I think there's a lot of confusion around that, and I think there's a bit of apprehension about us moving forward with this number of chiefs speaking for all the remaining chiefs in the province. I don't know. For myself, I'm kind of sitting on the fence for this because of the way it's even reading in here. The Constitution may be amended by 2/3 of the chiefs of the member First Nations of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs present at an annual assembly.
yeah.
So to me, that means like they have to be, 2/3 have to be present here.
No, so 2/3 crystallizes the quorum for a constitutional amendment the first day of the assembly, and then there's a vote, right? And so then we present the constitutional amendments to you, which we have provided to you in advance, and then whether or not you agree to adopt them has to pass by another 2/3. So that if there's 20 people here, it can't be like a simple majority. It has to be 2/3 of the people present. But,
Well, why don't we ask the people that are here whether they feel comfortable proceeding with the numbers that are left here?
microphone 10, please.
Mic 10.
Chief Mitchell, Pop River, we had the same discussion 30 years ago about establishing a quorum. And for those people that weren't there 30 years ago, what happened with the Service Canada Agreement, that's what happened. That's why we formed MKO and SCO, because a result of that split that was created. So if I wasn't there, then it was my own fault why that Service Canada agreement was split. And that's exactly how it is here. If I wasn't going to be here today, I would have had a proxy with me. That's just the way our Constitution is. And so we have every right to pass resolutions because a quorum was established.
Thank you. Microphone 5.
Oral Johnston from Black River. Yeah, I mean, I've read and looked at things, and yes, some of the thoughts that are being presented right here at the moment, Chief Mitchell just hit it bang on. Representation is here. It reads the way it is. I'm in favor. Let's move on and let's vote.
Microphone 7.
Francie Meaches, Chief of Swan Lake. You know, we've been having this issue since I started in 2007. It's 2019 now. We haven't found the solution to structuring ourselves so that we can actually do business and finish business. We come here, and I've said this time and time again, at the same place actually, South Beach, for some reason. Same place, time and time again, I say, We need to change the way we do business. This is not about us. This is about the people we serve. And the only way we're going to make change here is if we just go ahead and do it, because we can't sit here and wait. Look what happened to us, a day and a half we wasted on 2 issues that shouldn't even have been brought to this table. We need to structure ourselves so we can actually get things done. Why do you think Chief Mitchell was talking about 30 years ago? Are we going to be doing this another 30 years from now? Because I don't want our future leaders to be dealing with this. Let's just do it. I mean, it's not, like I said, you can't do anything if people have to leave. That's no control of ours. But whoever is here to try and get this business done, let's just do it, because we're going to be doing this for another assembly, and then they'll be saying another 30 years. So I say let's just work on it, and if you can, like, we all look at the document, we vote on it, you know, we know what's good, what we need. Let's make the decision and just get it done. Otherwise, they're going to be holding things up, and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone that's, you know, that's reluctant to continue the business, but we don't want to sit here for, like, some of us could be at home. I could be at home. I was ready to go home this morning because I got stuff at home that I'd have to deal with, but I chose to stay here. And I can't sit here and just waste time again. I'm sure a lot of us around this table can't. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Microphone 26.
Hello, Chief Batson. It's not that I'm wanting for us to stop. You know, we should still continue moving forward. I just wanted to make sure that we were, you know, following the proper protocol and process that we need to do. And so that was where my questions came from. If the people that are here, the assembly wants to proceed, then like I mentioned, I'm fine with that as long as we are ensuring that we're following protocol, and that at next assembly this doesn't come back and say, well, how many chiefs were there, who decided to go ahead, if we want to proceed. And like you said, people for whatever reason chose not to be here or could not send a proxy or did not send a proxy, then I guess that's on them. So I guess we can proceed then if that's what the general consensus is here. Igwech.
Okay, I guess we're here. I guess we want to proceed. Am I reading that correct? We have a lawyer that's given us a reading, an explanation, and perhaps it's got its basis on legal interpretation. We have met the 30-day limit. I believe we have met the criteria in numbers in terms of establishing quorum the first day. So I guess I'm following the recommendation that we move forward. And as quickly as we can get through this, and I think that we can be on the way just as quick as well. I'm going to order that the drum group be called in. So we'll proceed.
So the second issue that has been identified by previous, microphone 9?
Microphone 9, sorry. Microphone 9, please.
Hello, I'm Chief Marcel Moody. I'm in the same situation as Chief Batson. I'm not here to stall a process or to filibuster. I'm not about that. I think, like I said earlier, I think it's important to make these constitutional amendments to make so the assembly works for our people, right? And the only concern I have is, I never received my information until July the 2nd. I have it on record, and it's, I didn't get it 30 days before the date of the amendment. So the notice provision in terms of the information I got was not on time, and I'm just concerned about 20 chiefs making constitutional amendments, especially of something of so significance to the assembly and for our people. That's the only concern I have. I'm not here about stalling the processes. I agree with the other chiefs in terms of moving forward. I think we need to get this done. It's all about a process, not about disrespecting people. So I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. So the second issue that was identified by previous chiefs and assemblies, previous councils, as well as your governance committee, was the role of the AMC Grand Chief. The AMC Grand Chief mandate is set out within the Constitution, sections 13, 7, and 14. It sets out just generally the role, authority, accountability, election, term, removal. And in 2009, the AMC adopted election rules for the Grand Chief. So, but these general constitutional provisions did not provide what the governance committee thought was enough support, guidance, and information for the role of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, Grand Chiefs. So what they propose is further and important guidelines for the exercise of that office. And they've directed us to address this issue in 3 different ways. So we have a roles and responsibilities document that has been provided to the chiefs, and that sets out more specifically what the role is of the Grand Chief. It sets out more specifically a statement of values. It sets out an exercise of duties and a conflict of interest provision. In addition to this roles and responsibility document, which I believe is in your tab, it's been handed out immediately prior to our session today, is that we have drafted an AMC policies and procedures manual for all appointed officials and elected officials. So this manual is not Grand Chief specific, but it does include specific provisions for the Grand Chief. So there is disciplinary process, there's a conflict of interest provision, there's a general social media policy in terms of roles and responsibilities for all chiefs. So in addition to that, we have been instructed to amend the AMC Constitution in terms of the role of the Grand Chief, and that is contained within your document at tab 2 on page 15, and what it does is that it's more specifically articulates the Article 13, and there's an amendment to sections 8, as well as a correction of typos in section 3, and in section 14, there is a process including, the direction about following traditional teachings, and it specifically includes and contemplates the language that is mirrored within the policies and procedures manual. So, what your governance committee heard when they were drafting these amendments was that we want to set up our elected officials for success, and we want to provide people with as much support and information and guidance as possible. So, in addition to the recommended guidelines for the AMC Grand Chief, your governance committee also was, if we could, was also asked to provide more guidance to the regional chief. And so similarly, we've taken a three-prong approach in order to address providing more support, guidance, and direction to the regional chief. So the three, so the next one. So there is an amendment to the Constitution, as well as a roles and responsibilities document, provides a statement of values, provides a disciplinary process, as well as AMC policies and procedures. The manual has a specific provision for the regional Grand Chief. What we heard from previous chiefs in assembly, previous councils, previous governance committee, what your governance committee heard was that they wanted to address the ambiguity within the role of the regional chief. So they've directed the constitutional amendment to change the name of the AFN regional chief to the AMC regional chief. So the constitutional provisions and changes that you're going to see in Article 15 specifically change Assembly of First Nations crossed out to Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs regional chief. And just as an aside, that's completely consistent with the AFN Charter Section 17. So, yeah. Another issue that is contained within the regional chief position is, in addition to a disciplinary process and more of a liaison with the AMC, is a direction within Section 7. Section 7 directs that the regional chief is not to act alone when representing Manitoba, but is specifically to take direction from the AMC as to policies and positions, and to seek guidance from the AMC prior to voting on AFN initiatives or issues. And that the regional chief should report to the AMC on a regular basis of their representation on a national level, their committee work, as well as all financial reporting. Number 8 says that where there are any major material resolutions tabled at the AFN, the regional chief shall request a special meeting with either the Grand Chief or the Executive Council of Chiefs to seek input and guidance. The regional chief, prior to moving or seconding any major material resolutions, shall request a special meeting with the Grand Chief, and if possible, the Executive Council of Chiefs for guidance, and confirm that the resolution accords with the current AMC policies and positions. Now, the next issue was the issue of councils. And I'm sure everybody present at this table is a member of 1, 2, or 3 AMC councils. And they all have, we have currently quite a number of councils, and they're all functioning at a different consistency of meetings and different operation. So the governance committee, recognizing that your time is really important and that they want to effectively utilize the time of the chiefs. Right. So they wanted to improve the governance of the councils. So the AMC specifically has 3 articulated councils within Article 5, Sub 2, which is the Grandmothers Council, the Elders Council, and the Women's Council. So currently, the appointment process is at the election of the Executive Council of Chiefs. And the timing is inconsistent. Like the term of the appointments to each council is inconsistent between the councils. So what the recommendation from your governance committee has been was that the appointments to the Elders Council and the Grandmothers Council be specified as 5 years, and that the Chiefs Assembly should discuss and identify any further changes to the constitution of these councils that they may require. So the council section is set out within item 19 for the Elders Council, 20 for the Grandmothers Council, and 21 for the Women's Council. So the only specific direction we've received from your governance committee was to set the term for the appointments, but the governance committee specifically requested any comments from the floor that they could take back if they want in terms of councils. So the next issue that was identified by the governance, hello, may I have microphone 10, please?
Can you go back to one?
Yes.
To the previous one? Chief Mitchell, Poplar River. I guess what's also important is the number of people in a council, because number dictates what we can afford. And we have to consider that. You can't have 20 women coming to a meeting every month because we'll be broke. So it's important for chiefs to have that discussion, I think.
Right.
I know it says composition, but that doesn't necessarily reflect the numbers. Mm-hmm. What is feasible is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Okay.
Currently, within the Article 19, 20, and 21 of the definition of each council, it's the size and the membership is left up to the Executive Council of Chiefs. So there is no minimum or maximum, but I think that feasibility is important, and we want to set up our councils for success to be able to undertake their work. So with permission, I'd like to take that comment back to the governance committee for specific consideration.
Okay.
The next issue that was identified by the governance committee was committees and how the AMC could improve governance in dealing with the Chiefs Committee. Article 5.1 identifies the ability to have the AMC operate through committees, and Article 18.7 identifies 8 separate permanent committees, and these committees are